Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, and I'm here to watch with you the International Go Champion Pure Go match with the Goodwill game with an AI. So this is going to be a game with peer, with DeepZenGo, and two pairs of human players. And the human players will act as the rotation goes, they will be playing as the female of the pair. And so the two human players will be choosing a move and will be able to discuss the move with each other. And then DeepZen will be playing the next move in rotation. And DeepZen will be in both teams. So we have, from Japan, we have Iyama Yuta and his partner Hshieh. And from China, we have Kaketsu and his partner Yu. Both very strong players, so both very strong teams. And they're going to be playing pair Go in a pair Go system. Although there are three players, you might say, it's very unusual, but the two human players are acting as one player. And when we're dealing with AIs, I think now we have learned that we have a lot to learn from the AIs. And pair Go is a very good way, I think, for us to have a chance to learn something by trying to collaborate with an AI in the game. And pair Go, before we start, I think we still have a bit more time. I can talk about pair Go, which was an invention of Mr. Hisao Taki and his wife Yuko Taki. And they started the pair Go Foundation. And it has become a very good game for humans to play also, because it does involve collaboration between two players. So if there's a weaker player, it's always a great way for the weaker player to learn stuff from the stronger player. And in this case, we're doing this with a computer, an AI, which is showing that it's stronger than humans now. And so we're going to be learning a lot. And the players get a very unique experience from it. So it looks like the game has started already. So I'll show you a few moves. And the Chinese pair has black. So the Japanese pair has white. And they started with a parallel opening. And here already we see a move that became popular after AIs, actually. It became popular when AIs started playing these big shimaris. I think both DeepZen and AlphaGo also play these large shimaris. So it's kind of a AI-like move. And black played the pincer here. And so black has this big framework on the right side and is planning to probably build on this while attacking white here. And white plays the big knight's move. So when white plays this, actually you often see black playing a bit more solidly to take territory on the lower side. And this would be one way to handle it. But it would be giving white a relatively strong position here with a wall. So this would be taking profit on both sides and giving white a relatively strong position here. And so that would be less of an attack against white and more of taking profit immediately. But in the game, black plays this attachment. Now, if white wedges in between the two black stones, it will become a very complicated joseki. It becomes this kind of thing. And this would be a very, a kind of a standard variation that would be likely, but not mandatory. Something like this could happen, or actually white might start with this side. And we can see that white has some territory in the corner, but black is getting some extra territory on this side. And if we compare the black group to the white group in the center here, black is going to be stronger. Like if white plays something like this and something like this, then we can see that black will have the opportunity to surround the right side. Whereas if white jumps into the right side, then we can see that black will be able to attack on both sides, going between the white groups. So when black does have a strong position in the upper right corner, I would say that black has opportunities to attack here, and it's probably not a good idea for white to play this variation. So white did not. So this is something that has not been happening for a long time, but in recent times, you often do see white play this taisha, this large knight's move, and then the hane on the outside. And this has to do with the ladder here, because when white extends and black covers here, white can push through. And then when black tries to capture this stone, there's going to be a ladder here, which in this case is good for white. So when black cannot do that, and we have this position here, when white cuts, all sorts of complicated things will start. Like maybe black will play underneath and then curl around on the top. And I could go on forever in this variation, so I'll just stop here. But it's very complicated, dangerous for both sides, but this is not what the players chose to do. So I'm going to go into the game variation. So instead of covering here, black pushed on top. So this is also what might be called a joseki variation, and white covers on the corner. And this is a very tenacious move. Black is looking to hane here, which would take away white's eye space. And so what white did is, this is, I believe this move was played by DeepZenGo. A very interesting move. It's a move that I think is a bit unusual. Usually you see white playing something like this. And locally, white would add one more move to get a very nice territory here. But then, of course, black would have the initiative. So what white did in the game is white played once here, and then came down here, which is a key point in the corner. So this gives white a nice territory here of about 10 points, and a living Hshieh, which is important. And black plays first on the lower side. So this area is probably going to be a black territory. For the time being, that's the most likely result. And white plays here to reduce it from moving to the left. And black plays once here. Kakari against an open corner is always a good idea. And white answered it here. So this is actually, looking at AI games, I'm seeing a lot of playing the knight's move, actually. But this is a move that humans have been playing for a while, so it looks almost like a human move. And then black plays this. Now this, in the other variations I was showing for this variation, this joseki, for instance, the one where white had a stone here, this would still be a key point on the side. So this is the shape that black is looking at. But when white has this shape in the corner, when white has the corner territory solidly like this, it's not a big problem for white, because white can just answer here. So now this is about 10 points in the corner. If white gets surrounded, then black can reduce it by about 2 more points, so it could be 8 to 10 points. And also, let's see, black followed up with this. So this was, it wasn't a really serious matter, but it was a slight, a profitable exchange for black. And it's sort of preparing to be playing moves like this on the outside to connect up eventually to the lower side black group if this lower side gets into any kind of trouble. So white jumped out, and black played on the left here. So this was a point where black had a choice, I believe. Black could have, if black had jumped out, for instance, this would have turned into a running fight towards the center with a weak white group here, and a fairly weak black group too. Black would not have a base either. And both would be running out. There would be potential for white to be doing something like this, for instance, to take away black's base here, in which case this group would also be eventually running out towards the right side. So it would be a fight originating in the lower side of the board, making it a very complicated fight to start with. But when black plays on this side, black's side is quite different in that black is going to probably sacrifice this stone, or sacrifice one or the other stones when black did jump into the 3-3 point. So this is where white has a choice. White can play on this side, in which case black will play something like this to take the corner. And so this is the idea. And in this variation, white will have to hurry to play something on the left side just to make sure that white gets something out of this wall, because for the time being this wall is not accomplishing anything, not yet. And if white is careless, then it could become a wall without eyes, which would be bad. So the move that white chose to play was on this side. When black invaded the corner, white played on this side. And this is also like a joseki variation, in which black gets the corner territory and white has made something that looks like it's going to be a territory on the lower side. And now white, I was saying white might play here to take away the side territory. I didn't really expect this move, but also this move is a more aggressive move. And black just jumped. So white gets to take away the lower side. But it's not really that much of a problem for black, because this is open on the side. And if we assume that this became a black territory also, it would still be open underneath. So as far as territory is concerned, we're not talking about a huge amount of territory here. What white is doing, I would say more, is trying to take away the base from this black group. So white's trying to attack this black group. And in playing here, black is just running out and starting actually to build a moyo on the right side here. And white played here. Black extended once. White extended. So I've finally caught up with the game. This is threatening to push through and cut here, so black has to answer that. And so now we have this connection. It does, you could say, in an extreme position, then it would depend on the ladder here, which looks like it's good for white. But for the time being, this kind of fight would be bad for white anyway, if black just pushes through here. Let's see, was I right about, sometimes it's hard to see how the ladder turns, but it is going to hit this stone. So the ladder would not work, but black can just push through, and white would be in trouble on both sides. So this isn't something that black has to worry about immediately. But it does, one does have to remember that it's not 100% connected yet. So white played underneath. And we can call this white's territory now. But as I was saying, it's open underneath. So at any point, black can play here. And actually, black also has moves like this that can reduce the territory a little bit, or like this. So if black plays here and white plays here, then again, black can play here. And this will reduce white's territory while threatening to cut white off. But of course, white can connect with this move. So it's not as if white's life is in danger. So black has moves like this, or moves like this, that will reduce white's territory. And so it's not as if white has made a great profit in territory, but white has taken away the side territory here. And black played on top here. So this has gotten rid of the potential cut here. And now this is 100% connected, regardless of what happens with the ladder, because with this move, black can play here or here. Any move in this area will create a geta, or a net, to capture the two stones. So there's no way white can cut this. So it's a very thick move. If we imagine a white stone in the same place, then white's going to have a larger area towards the center, moving out of the lower side. Whereas if black plays here, even if white plays here later, it's going to be much smaller scale capturing the two stones. And black also has a big scale moyo here. So this would be a point where I would be thinking of erasing the right side. But white actually played here. So this is very, I would call it an adventurous move. White's not bothering with reducing the right side yet. Like, white could start with something like this, threatening an attachment in the corner, and try to reduce the side immediately. But white's taking the upper side, this area, first, allowing black to come on. Black's moves here are very, very natural looking, because black is, all black stones are working together to make this big moyo on the right side. So I would be very worried with white at this point, but white did play here. And this is, locally, this is threatening to extend on the side. And this would have a small base. It's not 100% alive, but it would have a base and some potential to expand into the center. So moves like this, or maybe more aggressive moves like this, would give white some potential to make a life on the side. So yes, as I expected, black plays here to stop white from doing that kind of thing. And now white cannot make a life inside here. I would doubt that white would make a life inside there. But white does have moves like this in the corner that will allow white to, for instance, this is the most, the safest move that I can think of for black. But this would allow white to play this forcing exchange and make a life in the corner. So there's, or maybe play it this way. This would be similar. And this would be either white connects and allows this, in which case it's quite similar to the what I was showing before. White's not 100% connected on the side there. Or white could, since this is such a valuable black territory, white could start a ko here in some cases. White needs some ko threats for the ko though. So white does have some aji in the corner there, which I think is what the point of playing this move was, to make this exchange so that white can later reduce the corner territory. But even so, this is looking pretty big, so maybe white is trying to think of something better. White is taking a bit of time here. Obviously, moving out with this stone would be bad. Black would just peep here once and take away white's eye space. And then just about whatever black does, like this would be a natural move. White doesn't seem to have enough room to make eyes or to run out. So, I see this move. Now this is a very difficult part of the game for me to comment on, also to read out for the players. Like there's a huge amount of reading that has to go into this move, because one has to say what's going to happen if black plays, for instance, something like this from the outside, or something like this from the outside. And we can see that there's some potential for white to get some forcing moves. Like if we look at the immediate forcing moves, there's moves like this. And if we are a bit biased and allow white to push black around a little bit, then we can start to see some space for white to live developing here. So there is some potential there, but I don't really know myself whether it's going to work that well for white. So I would be worried about a black move here or black move here, something like that, that would close white in. But already the game has moved forward, and it didn't happen that way. So black played here. And this is getting rid of the weakness of this kind of move, this kind of move. I've seen, actually this is a move that is being played a lot by AIs. There's all this stuff that can happen here on the upper side that has to do with the weakness of the connection of these two stones. So what this move is it is reinforcing that weakness by making a connected shape here. I just put this stone down. It was, locally this is the natural move for white, and black will pull back. But it allows white a chance to escape with this stone. So white played one attachment in the corner, and as I was saying before, this does give white some potential to make a life, a small life in the corner. And then white jumped out. And so black has allowed white to escape in the center. So a lot of this territory in the center that I was thinking could become a black territory, with these two moves, it's more or less disappeared. And black pushes here. Okay, and white played the hane. This is the key point, hitting the head of two black stones. And black played a hane. And white has just cut. And so black has to deal with the weakness of the connection here. And black played a kind of a, well, this would be the good Tsuji move, you might say. It would be the good shape. But black played a slightly vulgar move here, which is looking at, and black has continued with the cuts here. So we can see actually in action that black is counterattacking first. Black does have a big weakness on the right here. But the game is moving so fast, I don't know if I'll have time to. I'm expecting white to play here. And there's this big weakness on the right. Like if white gets to play here next, and black connects, and if white plays here, then these 5 stones in the center are going to be in trouble. So if black cuts, white can pull a liberty. And up to this point, before white plays that jump, of course, it's not going to work because these 2 stones get captured. So black is threatening on the upper side, and black is building a position where a semi-eye, which is a fight to capture, And again, this is again a forcing move, threatening to cut here and capture these two stones. So white has to answer somehow. And if white continues to answer, at this point, fairly soon, black is going to have to back up and protect here. But we can see when black does that, black will have a perfect connection on the outside. And the semi-eye on the upper side is the big question. It looks like white can manage to win. But then there's this stone here in the center, which is cut black. So like if white, okay, the game has caught up to this point. This is how I expected it to go, and it's how it is turning out. And this is a point where white, it looks like white can win the semi-eye. Oh, white played this way. For instance, white could have played something like this to make this move and something like this mi-eye. The problem is that you have to think of the fight in the center also, because when black plays something like this, then there's a weakness in white's shape on the left here. When black plays this kind of move and white tries to cut it off, then if we have a black stone here, then it's very quickly going to become a ladder and black's going to capture those two stones. So it would be a position in which white would be forced to push through and black would be able to cut off white's stones in the corner. So this is an example of one kind of thing that could happen in regard to the bad aji that white has in this shape. And so that's what this move is about. White could have played here to get more territory on the side, but instead white plays here to make the connection here solid so that black doesn't have any forcing moves from outside. And so black played here. Now this is a really nice tesuji, because if white plays something like this, then black's going to connect underneath. And this is already trouble for white, because white only has two moves left. So if white only, just to go into more detail, black actually has three moves. So white loses the semi-eye if black plays that way. So white's only answer here is to go straight down. And you know, the game is sort of running away, so I have to hurry. But now white has three liberties, and black has, it's less effective when black tries to fill them, because now white's going to have an eye shape, which has a little extra. After this, white will still have enough liberties to win the semi-eye. White still has three liberties and can win by one move. So white's going to win this by one move. And so, while I say that this is a very nice tesuji that black played, it is, as far as the semi-eye on the left is concerned, it's refuted by this move. But when black continues with this, there's no way that white can save the two stones and win the semi-eye at the same time, because this would lose the semi-eye. Black would win now. So white had to back off here, and white played one Atari first, and black played the extension on the left. So there's all this excitement happening in the center, but this was also a very important move that black had to play at some point. And if we imagine a white stone in the same point, then we can see that it's very difficult for black to live with that one stone now. So black extends. White jumped in once. I would assume this is just a light. It's threatening to play the hane here to cut off the cornerstones. So this kind of thing would be very bad for black. And so black immediately answered. So this makes sense. So in this game, the level is so high. Both the human players who are consulting to play as the female of the pair, and the AI, which is DeepZenGo. It's really hard to differentiate between the two players on each side, because they're both playing almost like it's one person. That's Pair-Go at its best. And so now it's white's move. So just to look at the overall position, there's some potential still for white to live in the corner here. So this is not 100% black's territory. Black does have, like this stone would be hard to connect up to these stones. So this stone is more or less cut off from these stones. So black does have a certain amount of territory. Black will be able to capture these two stones with Sente later, and has some territory down here. So something close to about 40 points, I would say. But it's very fluid, like it can change the points, the areas that black has could change quite easily in the size of the territories. And this is probably about, there's still some Aji with a black move here. But if we assume this is white's territory, is something like 15 to, if we count something for the center area here, it's close to 20. And this is similar. It's more than 15, but it could go up to close to 30. So I'll call it about 20, and some territory here. So white has, a lot depends on what happens here, and there's some potential for black on the left side. But I would say white seems to have a bit more territory. But white does have to worry about these stones, and now white's made another weak group. I would say this is, playing something on the top would be a move I would think of, which more or less completes the capture of this one stone here, which is a cutting stone. It's a very important stone. Like if black plays here now, this is going to be a very, very difficult fight for black with a white stone waiting here on the left. And so I wouldn't be so worried about, like, a more solid way to capture that stone would be to play here. But I think I would feel comfortable playing this far away to capture that cutting stone and make white thicken the center. And then I could deal with these stones later. So I'm a bit surprised by this move. And black plays the cut here. And interestingly, white just left it alone. Like this is something like a 20-point move if black plays another move to capture that white stone. It's about 20 points, a bit more actually. But white switched to the corner here and did play the covariation. So white plays here. And when black answers with this Atari, if white were to connect here, black would connect, and white would have to add another stone to that. White would have to play something like this to make a living shape. And so that would be gote for white. It would lose the tempo. So instead, so what white did was white played the ko. Now it's very important for black to play the Atari anyway, because like if black says that I'm afraid of the ko, then maybe this is a position where it becomes more and more difficult for black to kill the white group afterwards without playing the ko after all. Like if black plays here and something like this, then we would start to have to worry about what happens with the hole here in black's wall and stuff like that. So it would become more complicated for black to finish off this group in the corner. So that's why black plays the Atari. And white doesn't really want to use up one move here. So white wants to fight the ko and make some kind of a trade, I guess. And since black cut here, now we see why white did it now, because white has this big ko threat. And black has to answer that, just because the next move to capture the upper side is so big. Okay, I've caught up again. This game is moving at a great pace, so it's very hard to keep up with the players. So now, this black territory is in question. So I did make a kind of an assessment of territory, but that's going to change a lot if white wins this ko. And if black wins the ko, it's going to be something like 50 points just on the side areas here. So that's going to be big. So a lot depends on what happens with this ko. Now if we look at ko threats, it looks like black might have a ko threat here to kill the lower right corner. But of course, when white answers this move, black is losing a little bit on the side. So it's a ko threat that loses a little bit when white answers it. So instead, black plays here. Now this is obviously, it's threatening. Like if white plays here, black can play something in the center, and this would capture these 4 stones. And again, the distance here between these 2 stones is too distant. Like if white tries to connect up, black could just play something in between, and there would be no way for white to connect up to that stone. So even though white has potential to save up to this stone, these stones are too far away. So this would just capture white in the center. So white answered it. And now this sort of heats up the whole fight in the center, because now black played here. Now next, if white plays something like this, this would be an attack against black on the side and black in the center. So this would be a kind of a double attack, which is maybe why black played here. But of course, it's sort of frightening for black to be doing this also when they're in the middle of this ko, and white did finish the ko. So this is a huge local gain for white. And we can probably still say that this corner, although black has potential to capture white, in looking at it overall, I'd still say there's more white territory than black territory. So maybe if we count the black territory here and add it to say it's about the same. So black has some territory here, which is not very much different from white's territory here. White has taken away the whole corner here, so this white territory is similar to black's territory here. And then there's this and this. So the territory is fairly balanced. But if we look at the center here, black does have potential to attack in the center and the left side. So let's see, black has just played here. White took the stone. Oh, yes. Let's see, where did black play? Black played this move. So black is starting the attack against this side group, which does not have enough room to make a life. And it's going to be a kind of a splitting attack between this center group and the group on the side here. And so white played here to get out. And this is a good shape. If black pushes through, white can cover. And it becomes very easy for white to settle this group on the left. So white would just have to worry about the center then. Of course, the center is a big problem. But locally, this is fairly good shape for white. So instead, black cuts here. And white plays the Tari. And with this, black has allowed white to connect up to this point. But immediately after that, black played here. So we can see that black is, although white has gotten out once, this ponuki, the capture here, has made it a little bit different here, in that it's a bit more difficult for white to connect, or a bit more easy for black to later cut this white group off. And then black plays here, which is starting the splitting attack between this group on the left and this white group in the center. So I'm getting a bad feeling about this for white, because white is weak on both sides. And the more white moves from the left, we can see that this would end up with the center and the left side being cut off at a very close area, like right next to each other. So this is, for black, this is the ideal way to be cutting white into two, because this move affects both moves. It has an impact on both sides, a very strong impact on both sides, both white groups. So instead, white played here in the center. So if this turns out to be bad for white, then I would say this was caused maybe by the ko that white started in the upper right corner. When I was saying maybe I would play some move on the left side to capture this cutting stone, white started this ko, and it made it much more complicated, but it also gave black the opportunity to move out with this stone here and start this attack on white's center. So white's played the attachment here and pulled back. So this is still not alive, but white is looking at the potential of a cut here. So this is what white's sort of aiming at. And also, if we have black just very passively answer that, then locally white can make a living shape now by playing here and here. And next, if white plays here, white has an eye here and an eye on the side. So that would be two eyes. And also white has an extra eye here. So these points are interchangeable. So if white gets this point, white's going to be alive. So that's the idea behind white's move here on the side, to make a potential cut here and a potential life on the side. And black pulls back. So black has abandoned that fight. For the time being, if black plays something like this or something like this, then there could be some trouble with this cut, which would cut off this. Black obviously doesn't want to sacrifice this stone, which would allow white to make eyes. So this would be not very satisfactory for black. Also, coming from underneath, with all these white stones in the center area, it allows white to cut black off. So this would be a bit troublesome for black too. So black has to worry about that, but doesn't really want to simply answer locally, which would allow white to play this move with very little effect on the center. So black started with the center, and white jumped here. Now this is an attack against the black group here, looking at moves like this and looking at moves like this that would attack the two black stones and all this kind of stuff. And it's also trying to reinforce, but it's not really completely reinforced yet, because there still is the cut here. So like this would be a move that would be more solid connection, but it would have less impact against black on the left. So I guess that's what this move is doing. And black plays here. Now this is a interesting move, because it's getting rid of the cut here, now that cut is going to be a ladder. Black can capture it with this sequence. And it's also protecting the weakness here for the time being. Because if white pushes through, we can see that this is connected up too. And this move is making a bit of a difference. Like not only this direction, but if white plays from this direction, without this stone, white would be able to capture the two stones here. So it's a multi-purpose move that is solving all the problems black has and preparing to play here or here at some later time. So white kept pushing on this in the center. This is getting a very, it looks like it's going to be a decisive fight here in the center. So white pushes again, and black cut. So this is a weakness in white's shape that was bothering me for a while now. And locally, white can push through here. This would be the Tetsuji. Instead, white's played here once. White could push through here, but one side or the other is going to be in trouble in this fight. Like if black just plays here, there's still a hole here in white's connection, and these stones are looking a bit lonely. So white didn't do that and played here. And we can see this is sort of attacking black on the lower side, you might say, because white is now revived the cut here. And so it looks like white is threatening to cut off these stones and these stones to start a fight on the right side of the board. And black answered on this side. So that's sort of finished off these stones in the center. So these are dead now. They're pretty much dead. And black's group on the left here, as I said, this cut here is not going to work anymore because of this stone here that makes it a ladder. And so these stones are still a bit in jeopardy. Like later on, black can play this move. And with all these stones in the center here, it's going to be relatively easy for black to find a way to hem white in. So this looks really dangerous for white on the left. But also the fight on the right here is still, we're still in the middle of this fight. Like there's this stone that is more or less, it's pretty close to being connected up here. Black can still cut it off locally, but with these white stones in the center, we can see a kind of a net of white stones forming along this path. So white has some potential to connect up here. So these are not dead yet, but if we assume black plays another move here, it does look a bit difficult for white. Like white would be on the defensive. So white plays the attachment here. I'm not really sure what white's trying to do with this move. But I guess something like this. And looking at the Sarari here maybe, if black answers on this side. For instance, this kind of thing could be happening. Or white could be trying to mix it in with the cut here. And if black plays this way to escape, we can see, I guess we can see trouble brewing on the right side, like this kind of thing could happen. This could be troublesome for black. And there's also, if we look at the center there, we can see actually there's some forcing moves for white. So let's see. With this kind of thing looks like it might not be good enough, but in this case, this would probably be giving black, with a lot of forcing moves here, this would be giving black some trouble on the side. So black played underneath. Here. So this is the safer move, and white pulled back. And so black probably has to connect here. It could be pulling back or connecting on this side, or I guess pushing against white. Black doesn't really want to give white this kind of forcing move because it looks dangerous on this side. Like if this happens, these four stones, they look like they could be in trouble. So black played the connection here. And with this stone, there's no forcing moves for white here. So it looks like for the time being, these four stones are okay. Like white can push through here. And although I was saying these stones here are dead, maybe they're not always going to be dead in this case. But if white saves these stones, then maybe these stones are going to die instead. So it's one or the other. White pushed through here. So we can see white's trying to build an attack against this black group here. And black is covered. So at this point, I'm still worried about this on the left here, but for the time being, it's sort of out of the picture. And white is continuing to add stones to this group. So white's plan will be to sacrifice these stones in the center, and white did cut, and to find some way to attack black on the right side, because white does have a lot of forcing moves here, which will probably allow white to connect up on the right, and so this group could become isolated. In the center here, for the time being, black's okay. Like, it doesn't look like white can capture these stones at this point. And white played here. So this is looking at a squeeze, because it is a net move, but it's not really good enough to kill the black group. Like black can push through and cut, for instance. And with this, black can capture the white stone here or the white stone here. This is just one example of how black can save this group in the center. And white will be able to force with, for instance, a move like this to connect up maybe to the right side. So that's what I think white's plan is here. And instead, black pushed through this side. So I guess this works also. It's sort of bad shape for white to be pulling black back here and leaving a hole. So I'm expecting white to cover. And so there's still this problem on the left here as to what's happening with this white group. That's a big problem that white has to worry about. And of course there is this threat of a cut here, which eventually black will have to deal with too. But for the time being, I think it's not looking very likely for white. Like black could just do something like this and would be able to move out just because the stones on this side are so strong. So black pushes through here, and white covers. And black cuts. So this is another way that black can save these stones. Just by playing the Ataris, white has to connect. And we have put up. And so black cuts here. So black captures this stone. And we can see that white also is sort of starting to connect up to the... Oh yes, here. Starting to connect up to the left side. And there's still a bit of a hole here, but it's pretty close to being connected up. And black is, at this point, is not yet alive. Like white could, if white played first, it would be easy for white to kill this group. Any move would kill this group, just about. It's more difficult for black to accomplish something by playing first. It could make something, a ko or something. But for the time being, if black plays first, it's not going to be completely dead. But if white plays first, it's going to be dead. But instead, black plays on this side. So now that white group is in trouble. So white pushed through, and black pushes through. Maybe not yet. So just to take a quick look at territory, white has some territory on the lower side. But there's so much bad odds, I don't really know. There's this move still seems to be potential. So it's not really very big. White has 10 points in the corner about. A few points in this corner, so close to 10 points. And there's this that black can still capture on the upper side. Okay, black pushed through. And white played an Atari here. So that completes the connection here. There was some potential of black pushing through like this. So I suppose that's what white was worried about. Or the attachment here, this kind of thing. But this is not going to be forcing, because black can still save the stones when white takes that one stone. So I was looking at the territory. It looks like if we're not counting very much territory for white here, then it looks like white has something around 30 points. So capturing these stones actually gives black a good amount of territory. So black's okay with territory, but we have this group on the right, which is not alive at this point. It could be a ko maybe, and there's this white group on the left that is not alive either. And I don't know how white's going to deal with that, but obviously, I guess I should say I shouldn't say obviously. Maybe this is going to be about 30 points if it dies, so it's about worth 30 points. This is going to be a bit more. It's going to be more like 40 points plus some, all of these, it's, with all this open area sort of connected to it, it makes a big difference. So if it does die, it's bigger than this side. And that's why the players are playing from that part of the board. So white took the one stone. Black has to be careful not to play this way, because this would be a snapback, and white would capture the black stones. I'll not take them off. I just have to put them back on the board. So black plays here, yes, and white plays here, and now black plays here, and now it's not a problem because white cannot immediately play this move. So it's hurry here. Well, actually, black can just connect, but black could, for instance, black could take this stone. Either way, in this case, white needs to connect first before coming in here. So since white cannot immediately play here, which would be another snapback-like shape, since white can't do that, it's okay to connect also. And so when black captured this stone, white took the 3 stones here. So that makes it easier to talk about territory, I guess. That makes that about 15 to 20 points. Some points here, 10 points here, more than 10 points here. So something like 40, 50 points maybe for white. But if we're going to say this is dead, and we haven't talked about this either yet, have we? If this is dead, black just has a lot of territory. It's this whole area would be somewhere in the vicinity of 80 points. So if that dies and this dies, this is going to take another move for white. So it's looking, maybe it's going to be fairly close, but I would say black looks good. So black played once here. And we have some extra, okay. Let's see, white played this move, black played here, and white took these stones. So then black played here, I guess. And here, and white pushed against. So I'm caught up again. So black played this move. So this is the game position. Yes, so for a moment there I was missing this move. But that was what black played after white played the tari here, I guess. And then white took this and captured on the upper side, and black pulled out here, and has now played this move. So what's happening here is white would like to be able to kill, but if white plays something from the outside here, black can play here. Quite similar to something I was showing on the left side, actually, because if white takes away this eye, then black can play here, and has an eye on either side plus the eye here. So that would be alive. If white plays something like this, which also looks like it's a key point. Now, locally, this looks like it's 3 stones inside black's shape. But when black plays here, it becomes a larger eye. So if white plays here, then black would be able to eventually capture these 4 stones to get a bent 4 shape, which is alive on the side. So the next move that looks like a tessuji would be this one. And again, this would probably be the same story when black plays here, threatening to make an eye like this. And white bumps against black like this. It's again quite similar to the shape like this that I was showing before, because again, this becomes the key shape. And when white plays here, now it looks like it's going to be a kind of a seki-like shape. I thought it was going to be a seki. Maybe not. So black plays here, and white plays here. Maybe this is what white should do. But instead, white's, let's just leave that for a moment. White in the game played here. So at the most, it would have been a kind of a ko. White's made an eye here. It looks like white's starting to make an eye on the side. And on the left side here, so much life and death to talk about. On the left side here, if white plays first, okay, so black played underneath. And if white connects, so if white plays first on the corner, on the side area there, white can play all these forcing moves here, these ataris, to make an eye at this point. So white has made an eye, what looks like it could be an eye in the center area, and has a potential eye on the left here. So white did connect. So in the center here, if black plays atari from this side, obviously this is going to be easy for white to make an eye. And if black plays an atari from this side, then black really needs to back up here a little bit. So it looks dangerous for black to be trying to take away the eye this way. It would be there would be some connections to the center which would look a bit worrying for black. And also there's this cut here which is coming back to trouble black when this kind of thing happens and white runs out. This would be troublesome for black too. So trying to take away the eye here in the center looks a bit troublesome for black. But of course, if black plays first on the left, black can take away this eye with a move like this or a move like this. Or a move like this. Anyway, black plays on the side will take away that eye. Now I'll come back to this white group. It looks to me like white can kill it. I mean, not exactly kill it, but if black plays here and here, I was almost going to say it was going to be a seki, because like this would be a seki shape. But if in this position here, instead of playing this atari first, white can start with this side. In which case, if black plays here, it's a snapback shape here. And so if black plays here, then it's no longer a seki because black is forced to put a stone inside. And if black plays from this area, then instead of playing the atari, white plays this atari. So this would be bad for black. It would be dead. But at some point, black can play a hane here, threatening the corner. And this would become some kind of a ko, but it would be a step ko. This stone is not here yet. So then here, and then black sort of needs this stone to make the seki shape, and then white would be able to fight this ko. So it would be a step ko to make a seki. And so white has just played here. Black played here to take away the eye on the side, and white just played here. And black connected. So this is having to do, like if black plays on this side, white will be able to cut here and extend. And this is kind of a ladder breaking move in which white gets to run out. So that would be the meaning of this move, or at least one of the meanings. And so when black plays here, black can still capture a cutting stone. So if white plays here now, black can play the atari here. And capture from outside. So black can capture this stone still. So that's the meaning of black's connection. And white pushed through here. Okay, so just for fun, I can show you something that could happen that was bad. If black covers here, oh, okay. White has already played this exchange, so this is important. White has already played this exchange. And as I said, if white can play here, locally this is going to be a snapback. But since white has to connect first, it's not working right now. But if white pushes through and black covers here, and then white cuts here, threatening to push through and cut black off on the left. And let's say black answers it this way, and that would have to do with the cut here also, because white can immediately cut here. That's a more severe problem for black, actually. So if we have black play here, then this connects to the standard position in which white can play here, threatening a snapback here. And so if white plays here, this is going to be good. And if white plays here, now these stones in the center, even if black captures one stone, white can capture back. So this would be another snapback shape in which white captures the center. But it didn't turn out that way. This would have been nice for white. So instead of answering this move here, black answers here. Actually white has the potential to save these stones now. So these stones, if white pushes through here, white can save these stones in the center. But it looks pretty hopeless for white on the left side though. So white plays an attachment here. Now this is a tricky move. If black goes straight down, white still has this forcing move here, which can make an extra eye. So this is a point where black would wish that black had played here to take away that eye. It would have made a difference there. Because if white plays here, and this still looks like in many cases it would be a forcing move. So there's potential for white to actually live here on the side. White would probably start with this move, and it looks like there's all this aji in the center of the board. Otherwise, if black plays here, then white can play an atari here. And this looks like there could be a potential ko on the side here when white tries to connect up to the corner, which is going to be a bit painful. Like when black pushes through here, white will have to pull back, and so the corner territory is a bit flimsy, but it does have some potential for white to play a ko to connect up. So to look at another move for black, okay, it's still black's turn now. And black could just connect, in which case now black can answer this move on this side, and white would not be able to connect up to the corner. So this would be a safe way for black to play. Instead, black plays here. So this is allowing white to play the ko. So it's going to be exciting. It looks like there's a potential ko happening on the right side here, and a potential ko on the left. And white does have white has less territory here now, but it's still close to 10 points. And 10 points in the corner, a few points. This is less than 10 points, but let's see. I guess with all this extra stuff in the center, it's close to 10 points. So it's 20, 30, 40, 45, 50. And we don't really know what's happening here. And if this dies, it's still going to be big. Yeah, but this isn't black's territory yet, and this is a ko. So at this point, I don't really know how it's going to turn out. And white connected here. So this is an area where white could have pushed through here to save the center stones. But when white connects here, it looks like white is committed to try to do something with these stones. Like this would be a position where white would take some profit here and just give up these stones, and hopefully maybe get a kind of a ko here or something, and we would be talking about territory. But when white plays here and black plays here, this means that again these stones are now they're dead again. White plays here, and so if so white has to save the left side, I believe. I think if all of this area is going to be black's territory, it's probably okay for black to sacrifice the right side. That's my feeling at this point. So looks like white will be using the ko here because it looks pretty hopeless in the center, really. There is a bit of aji maybe with black's damezumari, but we'll see what happens. So white cuts here. So yeah, this does sort of connect to something I was talking about in this area. For the time being, white is threatening to pull this stone out, which would cut black off on the left side. So that's a kind of a threat that white is showing. And so maybe, oh yeah, black plays here. So that captures this stone. And white pushes through. So if white connects up here, let's see, what if black plays here and white plays something like this? Black cannot cut at this point, because if black cuts, white's going to capture these stones. So let's have black play something like, and this is, still white can play here. So let's have black play this way. And then white connects, and black protects here. And so it could still become a kind of a fight between that black group and the white's group on the side, which would be pretty close. But that's not how they played it. Instead of protecting this side, black cuts, and white plays a Hshieh. And so we can see a little bit of we're getting some extra forcing moves for white. White pushes through. Black answers. Black hasn't answered yet, but this is forced. You know, it could be the AI playing this move. I'm not following anymore. But you know, the AIs have a tendency to have a certain pace that they set themselves at. So a human would really want to play this move quickly because it's an Atari, but sometimes an AI plays it less quickly. And so white plays another Atari. This is a point where black actually has a number of choices. Black can connect, black can capture a stone, black can capture 5 stones. And it doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters really. Black took the 1 stone. And so there's a bit more potential here, like there's this move. Yeah, white played here. And if white plays here next, this is just going to be connected. So that's good. If black plays here, black played here. Then white can, still moving in this direction, it doesn't look so promising because black can connect here. White has to connect. Black can push through. White pushes through. And black will push through once more. And white extends. And then black can push through from this side. And although white can cut, black has 2 directions in which to connect up. So either way, this looks like it's not successful for white. The whole thing was closed in after all. And well, there's still this ko here, maybe. But that ko is going to involve a lot of local ko threats for black. And it's a very painful ko, in that white stands to lose a lot in the corner. So in any case, white wouldn't do all of this first. But white does have this move here. White's done that already. And black played here. If white connects, then black can cut white off with this move. And connect here. So there would be 2 cuts, but black's connected up everywhere else. So instead of connecting, white played here. And so we have a ko. White cannot afford to connect here. Also, black has to win the ko. And so white jumped here. And so there's another ko over there. It's getting very complicated here, isn't it? Black pushes through, and I assume white's going to capture the ko. And there's still the problem on this side. Black's already played this move, so white has to play here next to make this kind of a ko shape. So black has to look for some ko threats, like there would be the Atari on the upper side. And I think if I were black, my strategy would be to allow white to maybe play if white plays the ko in the upper corner, black's going to get some local profit there. So maybe to wait for white to do that and then take the profit in that area. So black played here. Yes, this is also an area where it looks like black has a few ko threats. Like this, it looks like it would capture white. So I would say white has to answer something like this maybe. And locally this is okay, because if black cuts here, white can just, connecting here would be just looking at the lower side, ignoring the fact that these stones are a bit loosely connected. If we just look here, it's still okay for white, because white can play here and here to capture the cutting stone. So it's not as if black can cut white off. And then it's just the question, what does white do for the next ko threat? Because Yeah, fighting that ko on the left is what I would do, but it would involve losing some points in the corner. So then one would have to count the score and stuff like that. Black does have a good deal of territory, so white has to be careful about territory too. Wow, the game white finished the ko. Now when white finishes the ko, that stops the fight on the left. And so now white has more territory in the corner that's closer. In the upper left corner, white has close to 20 points. About 10 points and 10 points here. So white has more like 40 points plus the potential on the right side. But this is really big. Yes, black did play here. And white played the Tari. Now this is going to allow black, this is going to be a direct ko when black plays here. White takes, black plays here, and white plays here. This is actually a two-stage ko, because for the time being black can take the ko here. And if black wins this ko, it's alive. But when white tries to kill the black group, even if white connects the ko, it's not going to be 100% dead, because black can still play down here to make two eyes and fight the ko again. So white's going to take this in this position when black plays here, and we've gotten this far. Let's see, so it's okay. So this was the position, and white took the one stone, and now has played here. So at this point, they're fighting this ko, but after winning this ko, white will have to fight this ko again. So it's a two-stage ko here that they're playing. And black actually, it was black's turn to take here, but instead black played this move, which is a big move. Without this move, white could have cut here, for instance, and captured, well, not necessarily captured, but could have cut black off here. Otherwise, there's also the forcing move here that threatens to capture two stones and threatens to cut here. So there's this kind of trouble that white could have made. So instead of playing the ko, black plays here. And with this territory and this territory, black does have a lot of territory. So it's more than 30 points in this area. And close to 30 points here. Black has more than 15 points here. So it's something like 75 to 80 points that black has. And white has close to 20 there, 10 here and 10 here. If white captures this group, it's going to be about 30 points more. So even if black loses this group, it looks like black could be okay in territory. And it's still a ko. So white played here, black connected. And pushing through here would be very effective here. It would weaken white's connection everywhere, and white does have to watch eye shape. So white plays here, and with this, this white group is more or less alive. White has an eye here, and has a potential eye here, and can capture this stone to make another eye too. So it's alive now. And this is dead, because if white connects here, black can now force with this move. And so it's no problem for black. Like black has a potential connection underneath here anyway, or can capture this stone. So there's no problem for black there. Oh, this is how it's turning out. White did play the connection, black played the hane. And white can push through here. But black can capture the stone here or connect on the side. So that's no problem for black. White played here. Let's see. Does black have to worry about the center? I guess there's some aji in the center. Oh yes. If white plays here and here and then here. Oh no, but that's not working. White will have to change the order of moves here somehow. Now this is not working because black can find, at this point black can take the 5 stones. So it's not actually working for white. But maybe white can make an eye here anyway. Like for instance, this move, if we say white has an eye on the side here, and this move, and then this way. In this case, it looks like white can make a second eye here to live in the center. So that would explain the move that black has just played, which is this one. Black plays here to take away that eye. And white pushes through. And black connects on the side. So this is a position where black is okay with this move and the connection on the side. But if white does cover here, then although black can cut white off in the center, it looks like white can connect on the side here. So this is what white was looking at to do. This would allow white to connect on the side. So that's why, although black was safe as far as the life of these stones was concerned, black did need to add this move to capture the white group. So this is dead, and it's a lot of territory, and white plays here. So I guess we're entering the end game, but they still have this ko going on. Okay, black played here, and I might have missed a few moves here. Yes. Okay, and black is just taking the ko here. So we're fighting a ko now. White's just played a ko threat, and now it's white's turn to capture back the ko here. So it's this position. So at this point, let's see. Black has about 60 points, 65 points, almost 80 points. And instead of taking the ko, white connected here. So while this is a big move, it looks like it could be sente. And black has already played this, so this is more like 15, 20. So white doesn't really have enough territory. And so what's happening here is just going after these stones and allowing black to play the other endgame moves is not good enough for white. So white's trying to do everything at once and capture endgame points too. And so it looks like we're pretty close to the end of the game now. And okay, white did take this, and now black has played this move. And this is a forcing move, so white's going to answer that. So this is the ko situation now, is they're fighting this ko. And so it's just the life and death of this one black group, but black already has a good deal of territory. So black can afford to take a few endgame points while fighting this ko. So white plays here. Now this is again threatening to connect underneath here with this move, which if black plays here, white would just be able to connect. Now this would be a big profit for white to connect on the side like that. So black had to answer that. And white takes the ko. But still, this is a two-step ko. So black's going to get two more endgame moves before the right side here dies. And that should be good enough for black. So black plays here. The upper left corner is maybe the last big move. There's also a big move here on the lower side. And then the rest of the board is pretty much finished. So it's just these two corners on the left side of the board. And usually white would just continue to kill this group on, well, white needs one more move after this. But white would continue to kill this group on the right side, would be the normal you'll say. But instead white plays here. This is also a big move locally. But of course black's okay, black's already connected up here. So black could just take the ko again or whatever. And it's looking good for black at this point. And black did take the ko, yes. So white pushed through. But of course, yeah, these stones here are dead. So black can answer that in just about any way. And black played the hane. So with this, black has an eye in the corner, a potential eye here, potential second eye in the corner. And since these stones are in Atari here, black still has the potential to connect up at any time. Yeah, so it looks like white resigned at this point, so that's the end of the game. So the Chinese pair with Kaketsu and Yu, his female partner to play the female part of the pair, and DeepZenGo was their AI partner. So that was the end of the game.